Anyone who aligns with Donald Trump eventually gets thrown under the bus, and Pam Bondi is learning that now. A leaked report tied to the Epstein scandal shows just how far Trump is willing to go to save himself. And it doesn't look good for her. Now, before we get into this report on Trump and Bondi, I want to start with someone who so perfectly called out our terrible Attorney General, and that was Jasmine Crockett, right here with some very important context.
There's a lot that I would ask Pam Bondi, but I do want to go back to the first part about the president now seemingly flipping his position. I do want the American people to recognize that this is nothing more than a game by the con man, again, because he knows, like most others, I'm sure his attorneys have informed him, that the release of grand jury documentation, as it's already been laid out, this is a secret process. It is a lot more difficult to actually get that released. So he gets to play both sides of it. He gets to then blame the courts if the courts then ultimately do what courts are supposed to do, which is to kind of follow the law. So he wants to say, listen, I tried, but it's the judges that wouldn't let me, and then kind of distract. So I don't believe that he actually has any intention whatsoever of being transparent and actually providing those documents, because he could instruct them to release information that was not necessarily a part of the grand jury process, but he did not do that. So I think that that's the real game here, is it allows him to absolve himself of trying to help out, when I know that the real shtick here is that he knows, or he's at least been informed, that that actually may be a really high bar to meet, and that's what he wanted to do.
What are your Republican colleagues telling you, whether it's OTR or even just flat out discussing this? And do you think there will be a vote next week whether or not to require these grand jury documents to be released?
I absolutely think that they are going to run away with this as quickly as possible. We saw a number of Republicans that just skipped a previous vote this week. So I don't anticipate that we will get to any resolution on this. I think that they want to, again, straddle the fence. They want to show that they are loyal to this, I don't even know what to call him. I've called him so many things, but this wannabe Hitler for sure. They want to pledge their loyalty to him, and they know that he does not want this released. I think that they also are concerned about the damage that it may do. If he's trying to hide it, they understand that it is most likely problematic for him, as well as the MAGA brand, as well as the Republicans. So I don't anticipate that they will be on board for doing anything that may harm them or their fearless leader.
House Democrats have been relentlessly calling to bring in Pam Bondi and have her testify under oath about what she knows. And what is important to note there, in the context of Trump trying to escape this scandal, is that MAGA has largely put a lot of the blame on Pam Bondi. They are calling her out because, of course, in their mind, Donald Trump is the God King that can do no wrong. So if there's a problem, it must be the fault of Pam Bondi. Now, Pam Bondi doesn't want to go before Congress. She'd be ripped to shreds. She'd probably lie. She may trip over her words and humiliate Donald Trump, but it looks like that might actually end up being the case of what happens. Of course, it would be disastrous with Trump, but clearly in this post we're seeing that he's inching towards that possibility. I have asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making this request. It will always be more MAGA. So Donald Trump is now trying to position the narrative that no matter what he does, nothing will be enough for the crowd of troublemakers. I think that's his own supporters. But he's also said that he's completely given control over to the DOJ. It's in the DOJ's hands now, according to Donald Trump. And more than just one way, because a leaked report out of the White House is detailing who Donald Trump thinks should be taking the blame for his scandal, and it's exactly who you'd expect. Trump wants Pam Bondi to take the heat over Epstein crisis report. The president doesn't want to be on the hook for the outrage over his administration's handling of the Epstein files. Donald Trump is tired of defending Attorney General Pam Bondi and wants her to take the flak for the administration's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. One thing that's been clear is his feelings about it. An unnamed source within the White House leaked to NBC News. This now resides within the DOJ. Trump has faced MAGA rage since his administration earlier this month shut down its investigation into Epstein, announcing that there was no client list or that Jeffrey was murdered. In February, Bondi hyped up a release of the files related to Epstein, handing out large binders to a group of MAGA influencers. But curiosity turned to anger when the binders contained no new revelations. While insiders said that Bondi is not yet at risk of losing her job over the crisis, they made it clear that Trump is no longer interested in protecting her from blowback related to her handling of the situation. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to the Daily Beast's request for comment. While Trump may be eager to let Bondi soak up the backlash, The Atlantic reported Friday that he has shot down every idea his team has offered for addressing the Epstein situation, including appointing a special counsel, asking courts to unseal documents on Epstein, and having Bondi host a press conference. Instead, even as the situation refused to cool down, the president stuck to his initial course of action: do nothing. He's being tested, and he doesn't like it. An official told the magazine he doesn't want to talk about it. That changed when Trump learned the Wall Street Journal, of course, was working on a big story about the situation, with The Atlantic reporting that Trump, believing he could kill it, slammed his supporters for caring about the Epstein crisis and called it a Democratic hoax. Donald Trump is throwing Pam Bondi under the bus. Classic Trump move. And while MAGA may turn on her hard, it's worth remembering, Bondi is no innocent. She's done exactly what Trump told her to do, with zero independence. Trump claims Biden weaponized the DOJ, but in reality, that's what he did with Bondi, especially when he had her shut down talk of a special prosecutor once he realized it could hurt him. And that abuse of power isn't limited to just Trump. Jasmine Crockett called it out too, especially with what's happening in Texas. This clip is right here.
Let's move to Trump supporting Texas Governor Greg Abbott redrawing the state's districting map years ahead of schedule to help Republicans keep their congressional majority. So the legislature is going to hold a special session to find 5 new winnable red seats, which likely moves Republican voters out of safely red districts into blue ones. Is this going to further marginalize Democrats in Texas? And what can Democratic lawmakers do about it?
Yeah, so obviously, Alex, you and I met when the Republican legislature in the state of Texas decided that they wanted to violate the law and infringe upon the rights of Texans in our state. That was when I was in the state house and we broke quorum at that point in time. It was a pretty dramatic thing to do, but we felt like it was necessary because they were pushing these draconian voting laws because they knew that they had an opening with the evisceration of a lot of our protections under the Voting Rights Act in the Shelby v. Holder case. They are doing the same thing. We know that they gerrymandered in this last legislative session when we actually did go through the maps. In fact, I've been engaged in litigation ever since those new maps were drawn because we know that they diluted the voices of people of color. And that's basically what they're going to do. They're going to do it again. Texas is a majority minority state, and they don't feel comfortable having to go and present their very much racist policies, the policies that people like the Proud Boys are excited about, the people like the Oath Keepers, people like, we saw on January 6th, those guys. So that's what they're going to do. They are going to minimize people of color's voices, and they truly believe that by pushing their white supremacy agenda, they will be able to then secure more Republican seats. I've got news for them. I believe in the people of Texas, and I believe that this may backfire in a really unprecedented way. In fact, I will tell you confidently that there are absolutely Republicans that currently are serving that are concerned as well, and they should be concerned that this may backfire on them as they try to create these seats, because there will be new vulnerabilities. And I promise you, I am going to do everything that I can to make sure that Texans know what is at stake and understand that they are trying to basically put their voices on mute, and it is time to raise the volume on their voices. And so we will work and outwork this gerrymander to make sure that Texas actually shows up and shows out, and Donald Trump is left being the crybaby that he is.
You're going to bring the bullhorn of that, I'm convinced, on that one. But let me ask you about Governor Gavin Newsom. He said he's going to consider doing something similar in California if Texas goes ahead with redistricting plans. So, I mean, look, if Republicans are doing it, should Democrats redraw districts to their favor too? And if not, why not?
No, I'm all in, Alex. Listen, you know, we are in a crisis in this country, and I've got to tell you that Democrats have consistently held the moral high ground for good reason, regardless of the fact that one party wants to pretend that they are Christians or super Christians. The reality is that don't tell me what you are, show me what you are in your policies and what you do. And I can tell you that Democrats have consistently fought for equity in all ways, even in representation. And so that's why we do have so many states that have decided that they would have these redistricting commissions that are nonpartisan, and they try to be fair. But the reality is that we aren't playing with people that believe in abiding by the rules or the law or the Constitution. We've got people that are going into the mud, and it is time for us to fight back on their same level. And ultimately, when we can earn the trust and we can earn the support and we can actually have a say-so at the ballot box, then we will get this country back on track. But as of right now, we can't afford to lose anything else. And so if that means that we've got to play by the same rule book that they're playing by, which means that we kind of ignore the rules, then that's exactly what we should do. And so I absolutely support the governor of California and any other governor in any other blue state that decides that they want to do this. The red states don't have anywhere else to go. They have already gerrymandered these seats so far that is the reason that the Republicans are currently controlling the House. We know that that's what happened in the state of North Carolina, that decided to somehow give themselves an additional 3 seats. That was the difference in the Democrats controlling the House and stopping this agenda and doing actual oversight of this president right now.
One last question, speaking of oversight. I spoke with Congressman Robert Garcia, of course, newly elected ranking Democrat on House Oversight. If Democrats flip the House, he said his first investigation would be President Trump and his family. Would that also be first on your list?
I mean, listen, we're going to stand together and we are going to investigate. I don't know what is first, Alex. I mean, I can tell you that there's nothing but a treasure trove of violations of the Constitution, violations of the law in general, and overall just lawlessness and criminality. So whether we're talking about violating the Emoluments Clause and going to foreign governors and shaking them down, whether it's shaking them down for planes or whether it's shaking them down for crypto, or whether it's important to look into what he's done as it relates to these law firms and shaking them down, or as we recently saw, that we just lost Colbert, and whether we need to look into the Paramount deal and whether or not he is just going to continue to shake down various TV agencies to the benefit of muting the voices in violation of the Constitution and the freedom of press, or whether we are going to look into the fact that he wants to open a resort with every foreign government that he can find that will give him personal money. There is no shortage of things to look into, or whether we're talking about overall this little crypto dinner that he decided to have where people knew that they were doing wrong to the extent that they didn't even want their faces revealed when they went to that crypto dinner.
We have talked a lot about redistricting, and the big update is that Gavin Newsom is moving full speed ahead in California. Meanwhile, New York dragging liking its feed, which is disappointing at a time when Republicans are openly ringing map in places like Ohio, Florida, and North Carolina. Democrats cannot afford to fight back. This is not about cheating, it's about fighting back and pushing for fair election through real reform like independent commission. And thankful Newsom is stepping up. We will keep covering it. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. And if you stuck around at the end, you can drop the blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.